Donors choose. Support a classroom. Build a future.
The call to serve. It has no sound, yet I have heard it in the whispered retelling of honorable sacrifices made by those who have served before me. The call to serve has no form, yet I have clearly seen it in the eyes of men and women infinitely more courageous and more driven than most. The call to serve has no weight, yet I have held it in my hands. I will commit to carry it close to my heart until my country is safe and the anguish of those less fortunate has been soothed. The call to serve is at once invisible and always present. And for those who choose to answer the call, for their country, for their fellow man, for themselves, it is the most powerful force on earth. America's Navy, a global force for good.
The official radio station of Super Bowl 56.
Powered by Pepsi.
WGSX in Nathan.
104.3.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
There's no need to fear.
The Underdogs are here. The Afternoon Underdogs are on the air.
What time is it?
Broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room. Time to let the big dogs eat. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome into the Rib Crib Radio Room, and thank you for listening today. It's Boston Tim Old School, and I'm your host, David Hayes. Give us a call or text 850-215-6290. We're on the radio.
Today is so nice. It's like a golf day out there today.
Look at these sweet cups. We'll have Alan Watson
he brought in the
on
goodies
set
today.
with us here in the next segment. Yeah, he's brought in a couple of golf clubs. We'll be looking at some driver heads today, and then he also brought us in some great presents from Golf Plus, these sweet tumblers, man. And if you guys haven't got some cups like these, you need to get some. You need to go to Golf Plus. Are we selling these at Golf Plus, Alan? Absolutely. They're $19.99, and they keep your drinks warm. They keep your drinks cold, whichever way you're trying to go. And you know how it is in Florida. You never know which way the weather is, so it's always a perfect cup, especially, it fits right there in the golf cart. It's a great cup to keep with you at all times. Really appreciate that. Can't wait to have Alan Watson here in the next segment looking at those driver heads and talking some other things around the world of golf. We're on the radio at 104.3. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And with our TV partner, Blab TV, make sure that you like and share our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, download the new app, and register, all at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're still looking for a trivia winner, and I've changed the question for you guys. The answer to the question yesterday was flying snakes. The question was, what was it, Old School? What are balls?
What are balls that are, what do you call a ball that you don't, that's a mishit that you don't yell for?
Yep. Flying snakes was the answer. I had never heard of it, so I was just kind of throwing something out there to see if anybody else had heard of what a flying snake was. But the trivia question for today is, this iconic first baseman wore a batting helmet while playing defense. And there's a pretty, well, I don't want to say a cool story, but there's a story that goes along with it. There was a reason that he wore why he wore a helmet while playing defense, and he was a first baseman. This is brought to you by Merchant Management Group. If you're a business owner, take a minute, check out how much you spent on credit card processing fees in the year of 2021. If you'd like to eliminate those fees in 2022, give our friends over at Merchant Management Group a call, 850-747-0664. They are located right here in downtown Panama City, and they will help you out. Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott is walking it back, now apologizing for comments about fans throwing objects at officials. So he had a question in the post-game press conference on Sunday after the game where throwing things, they basically asked, the person who was asking the question asked if they were throwing things at his teammates in anger, and he said, that's sad. And when he was told that the objects were directed actually at the officials, he said, credit to them then, credit to them. Then he walks it back. Old School, if you don't mind, read off some of those tweets that he put out into the Twitterverse today.
Yeah, I mean, he put out, I deeply regret the comments that I made regarding the officials after the game on Sunday. I was caught up in the emotion of a disappointing loss, and my words were uncalled for and unfair. I hold the NFL officials in the highest regard and have always respected their professionalism and the difficulty of their jobs. The safety of everyone who attends a game or participates on the field of a sporting event is a very serious matter. That was a mistake on my behalf, and for that, I am sorry. He had to say it. Doesn't mean he has to feel it. He has to say it.
Oh, yeah. He read over that same exact script about 38 times before he said it out in public. That's for sure.
Yeah. Somebody, a nice PR guy, wrote that for him. He had to say it because it is true.
But why you got to do it on Twitter?
Well,
You know what I mean? Nah, and that's true. But if it was directly from a PR guy, then set up a press conference to do that. If not, if you don't really feel that way, don't put it on your Twitter. That's my problem with it. What you guys got anything else on this? I just think it's soft, man. I think I know he had to do it, but it's just absolutely soft. Like we're not even a week away from what you said.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you said it. You knew you said it. You knew it was an emotional moment when you said it. It wasn't overly off. You know what I mean? It might not be what you should say, but it wasn't
Definitely
entirely inaccurate, right? I mean,
Dave, you and I,
it's in the heat of the moment.
It's in the heat of the moment. You and I talked about it on Monday. You know, as soon as it came out, we were like, he can't say that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm sure, you know, the league and the owners, the Cowboys all came to him and said, hey, listen, you can feel a way any way you want to feel, but you can't say that.
And I 100% agree. He should have never said it. But then to walk it back this many times, you could have said, look, my bad about what I said, maybe even the whole regret thing. And you could have ended it off with, but officials need to get better. How about that? You know what I'm saying?
You know what, Dave? He's soft.
He's soft. That's just what it comes down to, man.
Oh, and it's called don't want to write the check.
Okay,
it was going to be a very, very large check.
Well, then it kind of leads into the next headline.
He makes $2 million a week and doesn't progress in the playoffs. I'm imagine he can write a check.
I mean, he can afford to write a check.
Heavy
that
check.
doesn't mean that he wants to write that check.
I think more or less what my thinking on it is, if he wasn't up for the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, maybe this doesn't get as far as it does. But when you're in that type of company,
he's the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
That's true too.
I mean, it's one of the most eye-catching
franchises.
Well, the position.
Okay, the quarterback for the Cowboys. Yeah,
for the Dallas Cowboys. Even if you're Tony Romo, people talk about you. I mean, he figured it out when he started talking about dating Jessica Simpson. And then he realized, oh, man, I can't talk about this stuff. I can't talk about my life anymore because of the position that I hold. And that's the same way where Dak is.
Well,
I mean, I agree with you. I would prefer it if he responded like Arians responded.
You're right. Exactly. So let's get into that. All right, I don't know if you were watching the playoff game. This was rather late into the playoff game, but the Eagles were kind of moving the ball a little bit. And then safety Andrew Adams was about to pull a player off the pile. So Coach Arians steps in and he kind of like gives him a little sideways slap on the helmet, a little nudge of the elbow. Like, dude, come on, man. You're going to cost us 15 yards, and that's called good coaching. To the NFL, though, he crossed the line. And he's been fined $50,000. And if you saw this play, I was watching this happen live. This is ridiculous. I knew when it happened, I was like, all right, maybe he shouldn't have done that. But there's a difference in, like, popping somebody. But the article I read today said hard. No. You did not watch this happen if you said he hit him hard. Hey, how old is Arians? Approaching 70? How much strength does he really got in those arms when we're talking about a world-class athlete? Because regardless of what pedigree or tier you are, wearing a helmet, but you're still a world-class athlete to play in the National Football League.
If you put in comparison all of the hits that are happening on the field to what he did with the open hand slap against the side of the helmet, and you try to say that that's hard, your perspective is just off.
It's just off. What do you think Andrew Adams was saying? Because you know that they had to have a meeting about this at some point in time after, if not a whole come in my office, sit down meeting, but a face-to-face talk about it. You know what I mean? I'm sure, I'm 100%, maybe 1,000% sure that Coach Arians was like, hey, look, I might have lost my cool a little bit with you. No, I'm saying, no, check me out, though. I'm saying I might have not necessarily crossed the line, but I got frustrated, but that I needed to do that because you were in the wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder how Adams would have responded to Coach Arians say that were to happen?
I think it was. I would think it's completely the opposite. If it was one of these newer young coaches, Cliff Kingsbury, one of these
Different story.
guys under 50 years old, absolutely. But the guys that have been doing this football coaching since some of these other kids were before they were born, they're not going to change how they've done things. If he needs to get there in the middle of the pile and push somebody out of the way or throw him a little forearm, he's going to do that. And he's not going to have a conversation with him afterwards because he doesn't need to have that conversation with him.
So you've never hold on. So you've never had a situation where the coach might have overreacted to a sense, and he's not. The conversation doesn't happen directly after. It happens after the game, maybe the next day or whatever, where I've had that happen before, where it's like the coach felt like he was a little overbearing, but there was a lesson to be learned in that situation. I feel like Bruce Arians could have done that very well.
That coach was probably hanging out with Dak because he was soft. But you don't apologize to players for little stuff like that. That's part of the game, 100%. Yeah, my brother growing up was the owner of a football team, a semi-pro football team, and he got in trouble before for grabbing a guy off a pile for almost the exact same thing, and he picked him up and slammed him on the ground. He didn't just push him out of the way, and there was no conversation about it afterwards. The kid understood it, and he got in trouble for it from the league, and that was all of it. That was it.
So then
he's going to write the check. Bruce
it.
Arians is going to write the check. So what?
That's the last part of that conversation.
So what? All right. Well, how about your boys?
On Arias.
How about your boys, the Texas Longhorns? Coach Sark pulling some Nick Saban type strings right now. So he's bringing over Gary Patterson, who was the former coach of the TCU Horned Frogs. He's going to be an off-field role as a special assistant to the head coach. These titles are getting extremely long, but how do you think that why do you think Old School Sark is doing this?
Because of the role that he has now as the head coach at the University of Texas. If you understand what Gary Patterson did for TCU when he came there 18 years ago, TCU did not have any facilities.
Mm-hmm.
They were still playing from the facilities from the 60s. And he managed what you would call the CEO role of being a fundraiser, getting the things done necessary, taking care of the alumni, making sure that everybody's getting the tickets they need to get. He's doing his CEO role, and he's coaching, right? Well, now Sark comes from Alabama, and in Alabama, his role was make sure the offense is operating at the highest, most proficient level possible. Then he becomes the head coach at Texas, and all of a sudden
they play good ball for 30 minutes.
Yeah, they're playing. All of a sudden it's far more than just being the offensive coordinator. And I think what he realized is, okay, I got to have somebody that can do this CEO stuff, who's experienced at it, who knows the rules. He understands the relationships and how to manage those relationships with the alumni.
And how the state of Texas works as well.
How it works in Texas. I think it's brilliant on his part. Because Patterson is not only really good at X's and O's, he was very good at raising money, which is one of the most important jobs that any head football coach in Texas has.
So a brilliant move by Sark, and I love that take on it.
Absolutely, and you'll see any good coach or any good businessman like Allen will always surround themselves with great people or more knowledgeable people than themselves. That way they're fully surrounded, and they can conquer all aspects of whatever problems they may have in their business or in their coaching.
That's why you guys got me on the show. No.
Absolutely. You didn't have the name the Paragon for a while for nothing. Get it done.
Well, we haven't had any baseball news scrolling through lately at all, but we do today. Is it really baseball news? I don't know.
Is it good news? It's not good news. Scott Boras, anytime that he signs a new guy, is that actually good news?
Old School, you sound like you've done show prep today, my man, and this is exciting. But yeah, 100% though. I mean, Carlos Correa has hired Scott Boras to represent him. I don't know really what that changes. He was with, who did I tell you was there? William Edgar?
William Morris.
William Morris. So Endeavor Enterprises or whatever it is. So now it'll be with Scott Boras, the superstar free agent, or agent who's not free, costs a little bit of money, but at the same time, he's helping you make a lot of money. That's our baseball news for today. Moving right along to, let's keep it NFL. Tennessee Titans Derrick Henry passed the test with contact practice today. He responded well to the contact in practice, which is a key checkpoint in his recovery, but the Titans want to see him participate in the rest of the practices this week before they decide to activate him. Tomorrow, we will have a Tennessee Titans writer on with us, Teresa Walker, at 4:30, so we'll be getting the latest and greatest on Derrick Henry and what that matchup between the Bengals will be looking at. The GM for the Eagles, Howie Roseman, expects Jalen Hurts to be Philadelphia Eagles starting quarterback in 2022. He said he did enough to hold on to the starting job. Agree or disagree?
Enough?
In your opinion.
Enough.
I mean, I guess it was right
I
there
guess,
on the edge.
I guess being halfway decent is enough for Philadelphia.
I guess that is the goal for the
okay.
quarterback position in Philadelphia.
Yeah, be halfway good enough. Yeah, that's perfect for the Philadelphia Eagles.
A serviceable role.
You know, there isn't necessarily 32 exceptional quarterbacks floating around the league that they could just pick and choose from anyway. So, yeah, I would say he was definitely serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, he was serviceable. He did what he has always been able to do very, very well, which is to run the ball. There was never a question as to whether or not he was athletic and could run with the ball. The question was, could he play and could he throw the ball well enough to be an NFL quarterback? We still don't have that answer.
That's true. We may not have the answer, and there might not be an answer if he's got the arm capability for it. But you know what would be scary? The Colts do what they did last year. Go grab him, the ex-Eagles quarterback. How about Jalen Hurts and Jonathan Taylor, though?
They can't. They've got Carson
Yeah, no, I
Wentz
know that. I'm
wrapped
just
up.
saying that would be a nasty combination, though, until you put him in the position where he's got to throw the ball. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll have Alan Watson, who's the owner of Golf Plus. And if you want to get fitted, that's where you go.
My weather forecast overnight, scattered clouds, 52 to 58 for the low, light south winds. Clouds and showers expected Thursday, a weather front coming in. That weather front's going to stall over the region. That'll give us more rain showers Thursday night into Friday. You'll be around 70 Thursday, but only about 55 on Friday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd. Dak, we got a trend here about 3 years, has been pretty ordinary against teams not named the Giants, the Washington football team, or the Eagles. And so it doesn't mean he can't play. That's not. But he's been surrounded here in the first 4 or 5 years with really good stuff. Now, the good news is the Cowboys draft pretty well. Can they find a Micah Parsons on offense?
This is The Herd.
Weekdays 11 to 2, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Are you thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Panama City area? Think Real Estate is your team of local experts who simply love living and working in Bay County and helping others make their dreams come true through the exchange of homes and properties. We strive to provide excellent customer service in residential, commercial, and investment sales, as well as property management by combining classic customer service with crazy fresh marketing. Visit our website, whenyoutthink.com.
ESPN Northwest Florida are proud members of the Panama City Beach Chamber. We'd like to welcome the newest members to the Beach Chamber.
Exchange at the Beach, Fortis PM, Hawkstone Cyber, LLC, Keller Williams Success Realty, Elaine Giddens, No Doubt Systems, Sombreros Bar and Grill, LLC, Toastmaster, Panama City, and Wolf Water Sports, LLC, Hydrofly, PCB.
Congratulations from the area's only sports radio station, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
He's got a wife, a family, a dog, and many other responsibilities. But for 2 hours a day, he shreds that baggage for what he really loves, sports. Boston Tim is part of the Afternoon Underdogs. From the Rib Crib Radio Room, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. It is 4:15, well, 4:18, but 4:15 segment. We've got Alan Watson, who's the owner of Golf Plus. This shop is in the, it's a shop, in the shops of Edgewater. Look at these beautiful cups that, I almost called you caveman. That cameraman, old school, has got on the cameras right now, man. Awesome stuff. You can get those at Golf Plus and a lot of other things that Alan's going to be sharing with us. Hey, what's going on, Alan, and how's everything been at Golf Plus? I'm seeing you guys in the Golfer's Digest.
Yes,
Top
yes.
notch.
Yeah, so we we announced it last year when they announced it, but there's been a real push lately on social media through Golf Digest. Mizuno's been putting it out there. A lot of people have been putting it out there, the top 100 fitters list, and we, of course, were on that. And so we're super proud of that. And so we never hurts, I guess, to plug yourself when you get that national attention. So, but yeah, things have been busy. People are ramping up because of lead times being long. Still, that trend is carrying over from last year where lead times were a little bit longer. So I think some people are kind of jumping the gun on the season, even though the weather's not perfect yet. They're coming in and going ahead and getting fit, knowing that they may not get their clubs in 2 days or even 2 weeks sometimes. So although we do a lot of custom builds at our shops in Dothan and Panama City Beach, so a lot of times we're getting people clubs in a week or 10 days, whereas maybe if I ordered it straight from the manufacturer, it's going to take 6 or 8 weeks. So we are getting stuff to most of our customers faster, not all, but I think that's why we're seeing people taking advantage of the cold weather. Instead of heading to the golf course, they're heading to the shop to get fitted and go ahead and get their stuff on order for the new season.
All right, well, let's take a look at what you brought in with us, or with you today.
Absolutely. So I've got the new Taylormade Stealth driver. This is the one that you're going to see on TV, obviously a lot of the pros. There's 3 different versions. I brought the one that's the adjustable version. This is going to be a $5.99 retail driver with any of the stock shafts. What they've done this year, and this is the real story, is this red face. So we've gone from titanium to now what we're calling a carbon wood. So of course there's still a titanium shell, but the face is 60 layers of carbon fiber. Now, a lot of people immediately think about the fact that crowns have been made out of carbon for a while, and even some of the sole plates, and sometimes they crack and break. Those layers were generally anywhere from 4 to 8 layers thick.
Wow.
We're at 60.
Wow.
So if that math doesn't sort of make you initially think, well, that's got to be stronger, then that's what you should be thinking. Of course, they've tested it. I mean, we can swing a ball-peen hammer at this thing. We're not going to break the face. So, you swinging it at 105 miles an hour is not going to break it. So 60 layers of carbon. We still have the twist face technology that we've had in the Sim and Sim 2 models. But this year it's even more enhanced because the carbon is more moldable than the titanium. So it's even better. We're getting better off-center hits. We're getting more forgiveness. And they've really introduced more low spin into these new heads. So what we're seeing from all the new drivers is lower spin. And what that means is distance. Because if I can take a guy who's maybe spinning it at 2,200 and by changing nothing but the head, I can get him down to 17 or 1,800. Now all of a sudden the ball's rolling out more. And so we're seeing, 10, 15, 20. We've even seen 30 to 40 yard gains for some folks. Now that's not, distance gains in golf clubs is kind of like diets. Individual results may vary, but for sure we're seeing that. And then the other new driver is the Callaway Rogue St. This is the one that John Rahm was using the first week in Hawaii. He hit 84% of his fairways. Tour average is 50. He hit 84% of his fairways with this driver. So if that doesn't tell you it's a little bit more forgiving. I know he's one of the best players in the world. I know he's ranked #1, but still, nobody hits 84% of the fairways. So very forgiving. And the way they've done that, hidden behind the face, we've still got the speed frame that was in the Epic Max from the year before. We've still got the AI designed technology in the face. But what they've done now is this whole rib back here in the back, this is what they're calling a speed cartridge. There's 2 pieces of tungsten hidden underneath that. when you bury 26 grams of tungsten in the back of the head, it makes it more stable, more forgiving, faster. And then, of course, they're making it a little bit lower spinning now. So just like the Stealth, lower spin, it's going to give you a little bit more distance. So we've already been pre-selling these. We've got all the fitting heads. We've got about a dozen heads of each of these for different lofts, different versions, all that stuff. Right-handed, left-handed, ladies, whatever. These things are killer. So $549 for the new Callaway, $579 and $599 for the new Taylormades. Fairways and hybrids also are starting to roll in. Release dates are in February for actual product, but you can come get fitted at one of my shops now and go ahead and pre-order. So we're excited about the new products.
That's awesome. And like I said, old school, I'm not picky. Whichever one you want, I'll take the other one. That's perfectly fine.
I really love how the Taylormade, though, with that carbon fiber look to it, and because it almost does resemble a very modern version of an old wood, what my dad used to do, what old school used to play with.
It kind of does. It has a unique look and a unique feel, and there's also going to be...
It doesn't resemble anything of what I played with.
I was gonna say, are you looking at the same?
Listen here, Bobby Jones.
I'll talk about on the inside. I'm just talking about the inside.
Yeah. So
no, Dave. When I was playing, it was
actually
it
wood.
was wood.
I said a modern version of what you used to swing.
Yeah.
Just let them have it.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's okay.
I need it.
Well, one of the cool features about this too, if you're color sensitive, is that for about an extra $100, you'll be able to order this in whatever color you want, because the color layer is layer number 2. So the color is only, every other layer is just your normal carbon fiber, and of course that's clear coat on top.
Okay.
So you got 58 layers of what you would normally see, black or gray kind of carbon, and then that color. So they can change that color. They can change all the color enhancements in the back. So if you just happen to be a big, you want blue like your jersey, you want gold like your jersey, maybe you want green like Golf Plus logo, you can order a custom, what they're calling a My Stealth. And so very unique. We don't do a lot of that kind of custom stuff, but every now and then you get somebody that just is like, I want a murdered out black head, or I want, silver and green, or I want blue and gold, or whatever. They can do that kind of stuff. So that's going to be another cool, fun option with that they can't do.
From a sound standpoint, does it still sound the same, or does it have the tingy sound?
No, it's still, I should have brought a golf ball in with me. It still has the crack sound that we were kind of getting used to with the deadened titanium sound.
Right.
We've tested it extensively. Not one single customer and none of my employees have hit it and said, that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't feel right. It still feels like what you're used to, and it still sounds a lot like, so that's actually a great question. It does sound a lot of that. That was kind of my first thought was, people are going to ask about breakage just because it's not metal. And then they're going to ask about sound and feel. And to me, it's sort of like a deadened softball bat, that's what I'm feeling. It's not the metallic tingy, but it's not just totally, hollow, dead feel either. It's got a pretty good crack to it. And then this one, of course, is titanium. So this just feels like everything we've been hitting lately. But, this is going to be the story this year. Stealth is going to get a lot of the attention just because it is carbon. But honestly, like today, I had a guy, we hit both these and a couple others as well, and the Callaway came out on top. It was more forgiving for him. So just because this is, a unique idea, it doesn't mean that all other technology is obsolete or that we're going to just all of a sudden walk away to that. So anyway, and there's also irons to go with all these sets as well. There's fairways, hybrids. I mean, this is the time of year that we launch stuff.
So the MOI and the launch trampoline effect, that was so popular a couple of years ago, that's still all involved in.
So what you're referring to is max. Well, in the woods they call that COR, the coefficient of restitution. The max COR still is what it is. That's why we have to get more distance with low spin and with more forgiveness. We're not going to necessarily get the face to trampoline any more than we used to. But with irons, that kind of goes out the window. And so as long as the grooves are legal, the rest of it they can do whatever they want. So yeah, we're definitely seeing longer distances. I mean, the gentleman that I fit this morning, he even commented, "Hey, you fit a friend of mine 8 months ago. He hits the ball a lot further with his irons than he used to." So that got me thinking maybe I should get new clubs. So, whether it's because of age, injury, maybe you just haven't upgraded your clubs in a long time. Maybe you've never been custom fit. I mean, I don't want to sound like a commercial, but I'm just telling you, the new equipment, having newer equipment, getting into the current technology windows, you're definitely going to see better forgiveness, and that ultimately a lot of times leads to more distance as well.
Well, last year, I guess it was early in the season last year, I took my irons over, and I've got a set of just traditional blades. They're really good looking, but there's no help.
No bells and whistles.
There's no help to them whatsoever. And so when my brothers came to Panama City to play, my brother came with his new equipment. And I was like, no wonder. Okay, I got you now.
They wasn't kidding when they called them game improvement wedges.
It was definitely game improvement. But, man, I can't wait to be able to afford to upgrade my stuff because, mine is back when I used to be able to really hit the ball in the center all the time, and I don't
That
anymore.
sweet spot's gotten a whole lot smaller for you.
It's a lot smaller than it used to be.
Absolutely. Well, that was kind of funny that you mentioned that about the technology because I remember one of the stories last year that was kind of big in golf, just for the golf nuts, but it was about one of the touring pros that was actually playing a game improvement iron in his bag. He wasn't playing player's iron, so to speak. And, there's just no shame in that. There's no place on the scorecard to write down what you used or what shoe size or what brand you play or any of that stuff. So you just want to get the equipment that's going to help you the most. If it's something that fits into your budget, then why not take advantage of what's out there?
We do have a question from Steven Seifert. He said the head of his pitching wedge came off. It's old, but he wants to keep the head because it's his best club.
Yeah,
Could
we
that
can
be
fix
something?
that. No problem. As long as the shaft that it slipped off of, as long as that shaft is not damaged, we can clean up both parts and re-glue them back together. It's a relatively inexpensive repair. If the reason that it came off is because the shaft tip got bent, which does happen sometimes, then obviously we'll have to replace the shaft, and that can be a little bit more expensive. But as far as being able to fix that, that's no problem at all, and we can do it at either store. And that's something that usually can be fixed in a couple hours to a day, just depending on how busy we are.
No doubt. And then before we let you get out of here, it's pretty cool to me. Tom Watson's going to be joining Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player as the honorary starter for the Masters. Just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that while we have you here. You can go ahead, Alan.
I think it's awesome. I mean, obviously, with my last name being Watson, I grew up, having people always ask me how I was related, and I'm obviously not, but whatever. Definitely a great golfer, won a lot of big tournaments, carried, he was sort of that foil to Nicklaus in the later years, whereas maybe Arnie was in the earlier years. So I think one of the best-known golfers of all time. Couldn't think of anybody better on the current roster of guys who are alive and deserve it than Watson. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think my take on this is this might be the single greatest honor any golfer could ever receive.
I think you're right.
I mean, I don't know other than you go into the Hall of Fame. Sure. But even in the Hall of Fame,
how many golfers are there in the Hall of Fame that aren't honorary starters at the Masters?
Yeah, exactly. But to be there with Jack and with Gary and now with Tom Watson, it's it was always so great when it was Arnold, Jack, and Gary, the big three, and then with Arnold passing on. Now it's time for the next guy. Last year we had having Lee Elder, which was incredibly cool, very, very cool. And so this year with Lee having passed on, now it's somebody new, and it's perfect. It's Tom Watson. It's perfect. Yeah. It's the perfect time. It's the perfect guy. And I just can't wait for that Thursday morning. That's going to be a special moment. And if you've never gotten to go to that, if you're a golfer, if you're a fan of golf, you need to go to that opening ceremony at some point.
If you can get in.
If you can get in.
If you can get the ticket.
I've only been twice, and I've been, playing golf for over 40 years and been in the business for 26, and I've only been twice. So
I've been twice.
It's not easy.
It's very difficult to get, but it's incredibly cool. It is one of the coolest things. Early in the morning, the fog rising, it's special. It is really a special moment.
Alan Watson, thanks so much for joining us. He is the owner of Golf Plus over there at the Shops of Edgewater. Give me the number one reason people need to come see you to get fit.
Because we are nationally recognized custom fitters, and we'll get you set up right.
And he absolutely will. Look at these great tools he brought in. We'll be giving away some umbrellas from Golf Plus coming up soon. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida or on the ESPN Northwest Florida app.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your exclusive radio home for Super Bowl 56.
Take off the bra and be a man!
Sunday, February 13th, we'll bring you the game live from SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, with a rich audio experience that puts you right in the stands.
36-yard strike Brady to Antonio Brown.
Your home for Super Bowl 56. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Dr. Chad Mitchell, orthopedic surgeon, specializing in sports medicine and joint replacement of the knee, shoulder, and hip. He serves our local athletes and our community. Southern Orthopedic Specialist has been the leader in orthopedic care for over 20 years. New patients are welcome. Call 850-769-KNEE to schedule an appointment. More about Dr. Mitchell and Southern Orthopedic Specialist is available on their website, southernorthopedic.com. Southern Orthopedic, getting you back in the game.
Hi, this is Matt Lewis with Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. We offer comprehensive diagnostics and repair service for all types of hydraulic units, such as hydraulic and pneumatic cylinders, hydraulic pumps, motors, and valves, as well as a broad range of hydraulic hoses and O-rings. Give us a call at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions at 850-326-3000 for any of your hydraulic needs. Or come see us on Commercial Drive off Jinx Avenue in Panama City.
Discover Kia in 2022 at Bill Burr Kia, your local community dealer. Let your New Year adventures begin in a new Kia. Stop by and test drive any of our all-wheel drive Kias and gear up for winter. Now offering 1.9% APR for up to 60 months on a new 2022 Kia K5, Seltos, Sorrentos, or Telluride. Bill Burr Kia is not only the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty, they're the home of the best customer experience anywhere. Stop by and see us at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. We make buying a car easy, and you'll enjoy the way we do business.
Offer from KMF for the purchase of a new 2022 K5, Seltos, Sorrento, or Telluride with $17.48 per 1,000 financed in 60 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Burr Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 1/31/22.
When the sun sets on the Emerald Coast, the freaks come out and play. David Hayes. Old School.
Very exciting.
And Boston Tim.
Good information.
Live and local inside the Rib Crib Radio Room. The Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Boston Tim and Old School. We just got done with the segment with Alan Watson. Those are some good-looking clubs.
Man, I tell you what, that driver, that Stealth is cool looking.
I think I can't decide which one I liked more out of the Callaway or the Taylormade, but I know that I'm going one of those directions here soon. Because he was saying they was adding like, after you get fit, not just getting the driver, but getting the driver and getting fit, they're adding 20 to 40 yards on some people's drives. That's insane. I'd be, hitting 200 yards at that point.
I'll be doubling my drives.
Yeah, Tim, you'd have to quit going for the par fours in one. Yeah. Because you'd be hitting it over the green in one.
It'd be interesting to be able to hit it 350 consistently.
Dude.
I mean, the amazing part is the technology now that they have for the drivers and for the woods. It has changed the game so much because now, typically a club and a half, difference. So if you think about that, typically a guy feels pretty good if you're hitting anything 7-iron or in. You feel like, okay, I've got a chance to get this close, right? So now all of a sudden you had 20, 30 yards to your drive, and all of a sudden, you're hitting 8-irons, 9-irons, wedges in. You're going to feel like you're going to score better, which is what it's all about. It's about shooting a better score. And so, take advantage of the technology that's out there, and particularly with Allen, where you're being fit correctly. It's not just going and taking the adjustable pieces of the equipment that comes with it. It's about knowing how to have it set up and so that it's right for you.
And if you've ever seen any of his videos on Facebook, you don't even have to ask him if he knows what he's doing. Yes. Watch how quickly his hands are moving. You know, we were talking in the break about some of the things that I do and how there's no other way to do that other than muscle memory. Right. The way that he works on clubs, there's no way you can replicate that other than doing it a million times over a course of 26 years. We've got Auburn and Georgia for real tonight. Last night I signed off and told you guys that we were going to get you to an hour and a half of Fall 5 off. Oops. And then Auburn and Georgia. But that is actually tonight because I had Alabama-Auburn on the brain, which was last Tuesday. But we've got it all squared away. Auburn, Georgia tonight, 7:30 for the pregame, 8 o'clock for the tip.
Is that why you came in with a hammer today? The music.
Oh.
The hammer. It's because, you know, I mean, okay, so the band is called
the Vagabonds.
The Vagabonds, and where they formed while they were all in school at Auburn.
Oh wow! So now I can't stand that song. Thanks, old school. Ruined a great song for me.
Every year during the Iron Bowl, they come back and they play. And so this is cool, you know.
Every year during the Iron Bowl, they come back and play.
They come back and play.
You've never told me this as many times as I said, man, this song is awesome. You could have got under my skin a lot earlier with this song.
I wasn't going to ruin it.
That might be the last time it's ever played on the Afternoon Underdogs.
I can assure you, it's not going to be the last.
How are you going to make that happen? You going to jump behind the board over here and start clicking buttons?
Don't think he won't. Don't tell you.
Yeah, I know he will. I know he will.
But they're good guys. They're great guys, and you know, they all went to Auburn. And they're really starting to take off out there in the music world. And so, you know, here's Auburn now playing Georgia in basketball. So, and Auburn's going to, we got a, you know, very good chance that they could be number 1 or 2 here this week.
Oh, they're already number 2.
Right.
So jumping up to number 1 is a very real possibility, especially who they have on the slate this weekend in Kentucky. Kentucky's been playing some better basketball as of late. The scores are getting higher for them. So that's definitely something that we'll be talking to Brad Law today at 5:15 about. But no, really and truthfully, I could care less if they're from Auburn. That's a great song, and it is what it is, man. War Eagle for the Vagabonds. That's cool with me. Let's get into some NFL questions. Let's start with eliminated teams. How do the Patriots fix their defense? Here's my problem with this question is that we weren't really putting a highlight on their defense until after this weekend. Is there such a thing as the defense just having a bad week? Even if they're good, they have a bad week. And dude, what the Bills did on Sunday had never been done in NFL history, playoffs or regular season. So can we just give some credit to the Bills and just be like, all right, you know, let's see what the Patriots come back with next year, rather than say, how do the Patriots fix their defense? I mean, dude, they're studs on just about every position for the Patriots, so I'm not really getting this one.
I don't think there's anything that we need to fix. I mean, you've got probably the greatest defensive coach of all times, coaching it. And what did we all talk about all season long was how they had so many guys that opted out last year that are now back. So we really have the real Patriot defense, not what was out there last year pretending to be, you know. And so in this particular case, I just think they ran into a red hot team that was operating on, you know, not just red hot, but white hot type of performance level. And once you get to a certain point, it's over with at that point. So in their case, you know, the Bills have had numbers of years of taking it on the chin from the Patriots and the opportunity to pay it back. And, you know, they did. And they went out there and just put a whooping on them.
What you thinking, Sam?
Well, I mean, I agree for the most part. You know, the Bills are definitely hot, and you could tell that coming into the game.
Yeah.
And at no point did we ever really give them a fight at all throughout that game. So the overall outcome of the game, I don't think really tells us the story entirely of the Patriots' defense this past year. I do think that, you know, being a Patriots fan and loving some of the guys I'm going to discuss and having been fans of them for a long time, it's hard to say. But, you know, guys like Dante Hightower, who I really like, or Devin McCourty, you know, two of the guys that are both of our captains on defense. One was a play caller, and both of them took the COVID year off. Both of them decided to take the year off, and then coming back, they both seem to have lost a step, and that's one of the things that really could that we knew could be a big possibility. And Coach stuck with him through the entire year, and you saw it, especially in the last 3 weeks of the season, that both of those guys, and a J.C. Jackson we saw get beat 3 or 4 times as well, 2 times particularly in the Bills game. But those 2 big guys, that are huge proponents in our defense, both seem to have lost a step. So I think that we might not need an overhaul on the defense per se, but I think that we're definitely going to need to speed the defense up a lot, and it may cost us some of our big name guys that are longtime players with the Patriots.
Dante Hightower to the Patriots. Let's
But
go.
how many times have we heard that?
To the Titans.
In the NFL, period. You talk about the Cowboys, their defense was so fast. And so, for the Patriots, like all teams, they're looking for ways to get quicker, to get faster on defense.
Yeah.
And I just think that's just not just with the Patriots. I think it's across all of football.
Right.
And it's the same in college football. When we watch the national championship game, those 2 teams of Alabama and Georgia, those defensive guys are incredibly fast. And so just being able to run from sideline to sideline at the speed that they can changes the way the offenses can operate.
Well, let's go to another question for an eliminated team, and that's the Arizona Cardinals. Can the Cardinals develop a killer instinct? What do you think, Tim?
Well, the Cardinals was the team that I picked at the beginning of the year. I thought they put together a solid team of veterans and young players mixed together, and I thought that would, propel them deeper into the playoffs than we saw previously, and it just didn't work out that way. It seemed that, they just had a number of injuries that they couldn't overcome, and while they did get JJ back at the end, it was insufficient, and you could tell that going into that playoff game they weren't healthy and prepared, and it was just the opposite for the Rams. They came fully loaded with everybody, including a surprising return of Cam Akers, who is a huge proponent in their double-headed running game, if you will. But the Cardinals, I think they need to at least try to develop a killer instinct. And what they do to do that, I'm not entirely certain. But they certainly did not have that going into the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I think when we saw the Cardinals, what we saw was a team that hadn't really figured out or learned how to close the game out, how to finish. And they just got caught being advanced to a certain point, but not prepared for that place that they have arrived to. Offensively, they're just not there yet. As impressive as Murray is from a quarterback standpoint, he still is making really bad mistakes at certain times, and that's just being young and not really having a lot of experience yet.
I also feel like he lost his security blanket, right? You saw how extremely confident they were when they started off the season. Yeah. Their defense is on fire, and as soon as JJ gets hurt, they kind of slow down the defense, and then you see the very next week D-Hop gets hurt, and that's really his comfort, right? Your best player on defense, your most reliable player on offense that you're giving double-digit receptions or at least targets to every single game, and you lose those both in 2 weeks, and then you see the slump that they go on, including the very end of the season where they lose 4 or 5. So I think the combination of them not being healthy and, like you said, his inability to make decisions when he doesn't have his first option available is certainly has been harmful for them.
It's just a tough. I mean, when you're young, and we gave them real props for getting some senior leadership on that team, because the team as a whole, the roster is extraordinarily young, and so now that's a little bit more playing time, a little more experience. The next time they're in that environment, it's not going to be quite as overwhelming to them.
And he also missed weeks 9 through 12, so you got to wonder how much that injury actually affected him. But at the end of the day, if you're on the field, you need to be having a killer instinct, especially at the quarterback position, right? And not throwing Matt Stafford like touchdown passes. He did that earlier on in the season, but not throwing 3-yard pick sixes in a playoff game, right? I think DeAndre Hopkins, that loss right there, that was absolutely huge to him. But man, I think it's too much finesse for that team. You know what I mean? Like, at some point, finesse is only going to take you so far. Why does Ohio State, outside of the year where they won the national championship, they look so great in the Big Ten and stuff, and then when they get into the playoff game, outside of the year with Zeke. Why? Because they were physical when they had Zeke. And since then, Travion Henderson, yeah, he's pretty physical, but they rely a little bit more on C.J. Stroud, which is a little bit more finesse. And you can only go so far with finesse. Why do the Packers never really make it outside of the NFC Championship? Because they can play that finesse game, but when they come up to a team who's more physical than they are, they're going to get dominated. And I think that's what's going on with the Cardinals. You know, Kyler looks like a magician a lot of the time, right? But then you look like, pedestrian in playoff games, and that it can't work like that. So more physicality for the Cardinals, another year with James Conner, and if he can be the guy for them, James Conner instead of Chase Edmonds, because what is Chase Edmonds? He's more of a scat back. More, he's not going to run you over as much as James Conner is. Let Conner lead the way and let Murray benefit from that. We'll see what happens. 850-215-6290 is the number to call. We're still playing trivia. Got a $25 digital gift card to give away. All you got to do is tell me who is the iconic first baseman who wore a batting helmet while playing defense. Listen to ESPN Northwest Florida on 104.3 or the ESPN Northwest Florida app. We'll be right back with Defend Your Stance.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Right now is your chance to win in the Grand Slam of Cash. Your code word is...
Season.
Enter the code word at ESPNPC.com or play on the ESPN Northwest Florida app. 2 ways to play this national contest.
I just won $1,000.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
My weather forecast overnight, scattered clouds, 52 to 58 for the low, light south winds. Clouds and showers expected Thursday, a weather front coming in. That weather front's going to stall over the region. That'll give us more rain showers Thursday night into Friday. You'll be around 70 Thursday, but only about 55 on Friday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
I'm Matt Glover with Aero Pest Service, and we are your family-owned and operated pest control company in Bay County since 1977. Did you know bed bugs are hitchhikers and you can pick them up anywhere people congregate? Churches, restaurants, buses, and movie theaters? Call us today and we'll guarantee you a treatment process to get rid of your bed bugs. Give us a call today at Aero Pest Service, 850-874-1900.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
Damsel in Defense presents Defend Your Stance. Got an opinion? Time to defend it. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes. We've got Boston Sam, Old School, in the building. We're in the room with us, and this is Defend Your Stance. It's brought to you by Emerald Coast Damsel, independent damsel pro for damsel in defense. This weekend, they're going to be in Jacksonville. The following weekend, they'll be in Fort Walton, and then following that weekend, Tallahassee. I pity the fool who doesn't use our tool. Where would you guys like to see Devontae Adams sign to play football next year? Old School, what you thinking?
I don't know. Man, I don't know. I don't have a team, so he can sign wherever he wants to.
All right, then. What do you got, Boston?
I'd really love to see the devastating move of he and Rodgers going over to one of the biggest cap spaces available in Chicago. And just completely overhauling that team. And it would cost them a lot of money, and they'd have to move a lot of things around. Even though they have a lot of cap space, those two guys are going to be very expensive to attain. But I think that they would travel together, and I think that they would both take a slight pay cut to make that happen. And I think that would really, really upset Green Bay, and that's what they would want to do, especially on the Rodgers portion of it.
Okay, I love that. Which franchise in the NFC North do you think it would tick off the Packers the most if Aaron Rodgers went there? Would it be the Bears, the Vikings, or the Lions? I think it would be
Bears.
Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that would be freaking awesome. Like, and especially, maybe even more sweet if he wins the Super Bowl with them this year, and then next year wins the Super Bowl with the Bears.
Right, and just like we discussed, I think it was with our minute with Max the other day, was how interesting it was when Favre did it, right? He kind of did the same thing. Went to a rival, went to the...
Well, he went to the Jets first and then Minnesota, but still.
Right. Went over to Minnesota afterwards, and same concept, right? You know, what ifs? That'd be very interesting.
And will Rodgers be a unrestricted free agent after this year, though? Because that's going to be one of the problems. If it's a trade, that was the same situation with Brett Favre. That's why I had to go to the Jets first before Minnesota, because I believe it came down to Minnesota or Tampa Bay, if I'm not mistaken, for where Brett Favre wanted to go to. And they were like, no, we're going to send you up here to the New York Jets. Oh, man.
I thought that he would be a free agent at the end of this year.
Maybe that's the case. Like I said, I'd have to look at his contractual obligations, but I'm pretty sure that they did some restructuring in the offseason to make it to where he would be able to make his call.
That was part of the maneuvers to allow him to come back and play this year, was to make it to where he would be more or easier for him to leave at the end of this season.
If Aaron Rodgers goes, somewhere where they don't have the cap space to make a move to bring Davante Adams. If you could keep Adams with Rodgers, then hey, that would be great. But what about a team like Seattle? I mean, yeah, they got DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and Tyler Lockett does a great job for Russell Wilson, if they even have Russell Wilson next year. But to have a guy like Davante Adams who could do it all, would that be a good fit for him over there in Seattle? I don't know. I think the best fit for Davante Adams, and he knows it himself, is just to try to stay as close to Aaron Rodgers as you possibly can.
Yeah, I'd ride those coattails as far as I could.
Which home team in this next round has the most to fear in the NFL playoffs out of Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Tennessee, or Kansas City?
Tampa Bay.
Defend your stance.
Well, I just think that the offensive line issues that they're having, injuries, it sets them up for a difficult situation. We saw what the Rams pass rush can be like, and if Tampa, if they have trouble protecting number 12, then they're going to have a big issue.
Before we get to Tim, let's get over to the phone line. We got Bill Horner on the line, ready to play some trivia with us. Bill, this iconic first baseman wore a batting helmet while playing defense. Who is it?
I believe it's John Olerud.
Yes, sir. You are 100% correct. So prior to Olerud's junior season in 1989, he was running indoors on campus on January 11th when he collapsed. So he was hospitalized in Pullman, airlifted to Spokane later in the day, accompanied by his dad. He was diagnosed with a subarachnoid hemorrhage, which caused bleeding into the spinal column. He remained in the hospital for about 2 weeks after the seizure and lost 15 pounds. Was back in class by the end of January. A few weeks later in Seattle, further examinations revealed that he had a brain aneurysm. He underwent surgery in late February. He returned to action for Washington State in mid-April. He hit .359 with 5 home runs, 30 runs batted in during 78 plate appearances. He also pitched 3-2 record with a 6.68 ERA and Pac-10 North All-League designated hitter. From that year, in 1989, he wore a batting helmet while playing defense. So, yeah, you're 100% right, Bill. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, he was a great player, man. Really was.
And part of one of what many people believe to be one of the best defense and best infields of all time there with the Mets. Hey, Bill, do me a favor. Shoot me a text over to 850-215-6290, and I will get you taken care of.
All right, man. You just need my email address, right?
Yeah, email address, and then we got to pick which restaurant that you want out of the 5.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'll send you that message over. Thanks so much for the call, Bill. Thanks for playing, and you got a $25 digital gift card. Come in the next segment, or in the next hour of the show, I want to give away a Golf Plus umbrella, so we're going to figure out a way to make that happen. When you think Tom Brady, old school, what's the first image that pops in your head?
I mean, the first one that pops in my head is him at the Super Bowl. After he takes over and he's won the Super Bowl and he's on the podium there with I can't believe it. It's just shocking to him, and that's the image I remember.
What about you, Boston Sim?
He's wearing like a 3/4 tan trench coat, blue jeans, and a white shirt underneath it. And he was walking across Brown University. Is the only time I've ever met him in person, and that's every time I think of him. That's what I.
Oh, okay. So you met him in person? Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty daggum cool.
Anybody can meet him in person.
That's pretty
awesome.
cool.
It was before all the hoopla,
Yeah.
So he was just walking across one of the college universities like it was nothing.
Nobody knew who he was.
He could not do that today.
No.
You couldn't walk across the smallest college university in the United States right now.
So what is the image whenever? What is it that he does whenever he gets down and he's got like a minute left to go or whatever? What is it that he does on the sidelines? He puts his head in his hands.
He spikes tablets, is what he does.
Well, no, that's when he's pissed, though.
tablets.
That's when he's pissed. But when I'm saying that moment when you know Tom Brady's about to come back before he actually does, I believe it's when he's on the bench and he puts his head in his hands, and it's kind of like if you play any type of video games and it's time to get serious, you sit up in the seat a little bit, kind of hunch your shoulders over and you get into it. That's kind of what I think about. The other one, though, for a little bit more hilarity, funniness, how about the game against the Bears last year where he was holding up 4th down, but it was already a 4th down and just passed the by. You're listening to the Afternoon.
It's 4th down right now.
You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a short hiatus. We'll be right back with the 5 at 5.
ESPN Northwest Florida. War
Auburn basketball returns to the Auburn Sports Network.
8-8, 17-footer. Banked it in! Watson, dunk! It's the jam!
Wednesday, Auburn returns home to battle the Georgia Bulldogs.
Kessler with a two-hand stop, but Cardwell slams it home. Long three, Katie, good!
Coverage begins at 7:30 Central on your home for the Auburn Sports Network.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. IRS takes your money, stock market risks your money, and inflation reduces the buying power. At Highland Finance, we believe you should feel confident in your future. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
At Slim Chickens, craft means something. Craft means bacon. And oh so crispy. Craft means a good cayenne kick. And all-natural buttermilk marinated, made fresh, perfectly fried chicken. All served on toasted brioche buns. At Slim Chickens, craft means quality. And for a limited time, try our new Memphis-style barbecue chicken sandwich. Try Slim's Craft sandwiches today. Slim Chickens.
So, how's the new job?
Love it. But it's not just a job, it's a career.
Life insurance? Love?
I told you Woodman Life is really active in the community, right? They support all kinds of community improvement projects. How's your job, by the way?
Don't ask.
You can love what you do, too. Call me, Lance Myers, your Panama City area Woodman Life recruiting sales manager at 850-769-9212 to learn more.
Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society of Omaha, Nebraska. Woodman Life, standing strong for generations.
The SEC lives here. Powered by Pepsi. WGSX in Haven, Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Highland Finance, helping you prepare for life. The profit your business brings in should go to you, not accidents, injuries, and hurricanes. Do a policy review on your general liability and workers' comp today. Our proven track record helps our clients prepare for life. Call 850-359-5989. Highland Finance.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. From Tyndall Air Force Base to the Hathaway Bridge. We are live and local. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the 5 at 5 here on the Afternoon Underdogs, and we got a text in from Professor Plum. He says, my image of Brady. Goodell having to hand Brady the Lombardi trophy after he had suspended Tom for 4 games, which Brady had to serve at the beginning of the season. How about the one where he throws the Lombardi trophy? And then how about where he's got to have, what was it?
Completed pass.
It was a completed pass.
Yeah, when he's being carried off.
That's what I was, with the avocado tequila.
Good friends are for.
That's what good friends are for.
He carried all 50 of those other players on that team for 20 weeks. They can carry him for
the
20
third string
minutes.
tight end. That's his job. Get Tom home safely.
Oh,
Come
my
on, Cameron.
goodness.
You've got this.
So we had the 5 at 5 last night. Great college basketball games. Miami's on a little bit of a tear right now, aren't they? They took down North Carolina last night, 85-57, and they were still under the over-under of 153.5. Florida State takes down Duke last night. Old School with the call, 79-78. In Tallahassee, they were over the over-under of 145. Florida State with a big-time win for that program. The Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns and the gang take down the Knicks 112-110 on the road. They were under the over-under of 214. And then the Hurricanes, 5 goals in the first period, and I'm pretty sure that was the end of the night for Tuukka Rask on a night where they put up Willie O'Ree's jersey into the rafters, number 22, which will forever live in hockey fame.
Quite literally the only successful thing done in Boston last night.
Right, no doubt. 7-1, and they were over the over-under of 5.5 goals. And then we had Texas Tech. Boston Tim said that this game wasn't going to go over the over, but it did. And Texas Tech looked really good last night, taking down Iowa State 72-60. What you got, Tim?
I did watch the first half of that game. I watched about 10 minutes, or 2 running minutes, about 10 total minutes into the second half, and the game broke away immediately, and it wasn't worth watching anymore. But
really?
At the half, only 49 total points had been scored. So
yeah,
like
so
I was saying
great.
yesterday, the over-under was 130, and I thought it was a possibility that could only make it to 100. So if they had an equal second half, it would have been a 98 total scored point game. But Texas Tech took off on an 11-2 run to start off the second half, and then they really just broke away after that. There was never a close game after that. They even got it as far as a 20-point lead at one point in the 47-point half in which they scored. So they really took off in the second.
So Texas Tech is definitely a team, and a lot of the teams in the Big 12 right now are teams to definitely keep your eye on here as we make our march to March.
Right, and we'll talk more about it coming up at 5:30. But yeah, Texas Tech has had now 3 top 25 victories, 2 top 10 victories, including Baylor and Duke. So,
well, I was right there with you. I had Iowa State, and I took the under as well. Old School had the best night last night, going 3-2, and I believe he got one of the over and unders right there as well. Let's get into some NBA for tonight. This is a big game for the Eastern Conference. The Cavs having a lot better season. Colin Cowherd, I believe, was the one who said it. If not him, then it was Dan Patrick who said that LeBron would probably rather be playing with that Cavaliers roster right now than the Lakers roster that he's on right now. But Cavs in Chicago tonight. The Bulls are getting 3 points at the house. The over-under set at 215. Lay this game down for us, Boston Tim.
Well, I won't bust it down too much because, like I said, we're going to get in. I want to get into this particular game in depth.
Yeah, then
but
let's make
I will.
the picks.
I will go a little bit here with it. The Cavaliers are streaking as of recently, looking very good, while the Bulls are doing the opposite. Okay, so in the last 10 games, we've seen 7-3 for the Cavs and 4-6 for the Bulls, including 4 consecutive losses for the Bulls, 5 consecutive wins for the Cavs. So that's why you're seeing the number 1 team in the East right now getting points at home because over the course of the last week, they're just not playing well together.
And they got embarrassed by the Brooklyn Nets.
Big time.
So,
and Kevin Durant-less Brooklyn Nets, by the way. So, I think it was a 34-point victory. Yes. So for me, I will stick with the team that's streaking and take the Cavaliers and the over in this game.
Old school?
Yeah, I'm going to stay with the Cavs. I mean, I think the Bulls will come out playing hard tonight because they were they really got it handed to them by Brooklyn. But I still think that with the Cavs, there's something magical in that lineup that the Cavs are putting out there, and so I'm going to take the Cavs to continue the Bulls' losing streak.
Do you like the over or the under?
I'm going to take the under. That's a lot of points.
All right, I'm going to go with the Bulls to get the win in Chicago tonight, and I'll take the over along with Boston. Tim, let's go to the NHL. We've got the Toronto Maple Leafs visiting the New York Rangers. Toronto is a favorite, minus 150. The over-under set at 5.5 goals. Old school, who do you like here, Toronto or the Rangers?
I'm going to take the New York Rangers at home. I mean, there's just something special about the Rangers at home in New York, so I'm going to take them.
Over or under 5.5 goals?
That's a lot of goals. Over.
I'm going to go, man, the Rangers have spurned me at the house pretty much every time I picked against them. And I'm going to do it one more time. Let's see how Lady Luck is riding. I'm going to go with Austin Matthews and the Maple Leafs, and I'm going to take the over as well because I've been hitting on the over in hockey lately. Boston, Tim, where are we at with this one?
The over is always a solid play, but with these particular 2 goalies, they're both right around 93 to 94% saves, top of the NHL, so I will be sticking with the under in this particular game. Both teams are very close, 24 and 25 wins. So, as always, I will go with the better goalie and the home team and Shesterkin. And so we're going to take the Rangers.
All right. Kind of a surprising season that the Rangers are having. I don't think that they were really expected to have this type of a run at this point in the season. Let's go to some SEC basketball. Got a couple of games there. Starting it off with a team that is desperate for a win right now. Number 13 LSU is not the team desperate for the win. They're at Alabama tonight. Even with that slide, Alabama's a 4-point favorite. Over under set at 148. Boston, Tim, set it up for me.
Yeah, like you said, SEC matchup, very solid. While both of these teams are on the lower end of the SEC, that's because the SEC, along with the ACC, are the top half of their squads are playing exceptional this year in conference. So while you see LSU ranked 13, 5-2, they are actually 5th in the SEC right now. Going on to Alabama, like you said, streaking poorly, 3 losses in a row, while LSU is 8-2 in the last 10 games. It's going to be a really tight matchup, I think, because Alabama does need this victory right now. So for me, I think they snap that losing streak and win at home tonight.
All right. Old school.
Well, I think
Well, what about the over-under?
I'm going to go with the over in this game. I think there'll be a lot of shots getting put up, and defense will slow down in the second half.
Old school.
I think that Alabama is finally going to get over their hangover from the national championship loss, and Alabama will come back tonight and get a victory over LSU.
And you like the over or under of 148?
I like the over.
All right, man, this does not bode well for Alabama because we're all going with Bama and we're all going with the over, and normally when we sweep things out, we get shut out. So let's go over to another SEC game. Mississippi State is on the road, heading to Gainesville, taking on Florida, where they are a 6-point favorite. The Gators are a 6-point favorite at the house, over under set at 137.5 points. Old school, what do you think we'll see from this contest?
You know, I like the last Mississippi State win. They got a really nice road win, but I'm not a believer in the Bulldogs yet, so I'll take Florida at home.
All right.
And that's a lot of points. So, yeah, under.
Under? Man, this one's tough for me, but Mississippi State just got done beating Alabama, so I'm wondering maybe that team's starting to hit their stride, or is it because of the lack of playing good basketball for Alabama right now? Let me get Mississippi State to upset Florida on the road, and let's keep it under those points. Boston, Tim?
Yeah, they've beat Alabama and Arkansas in 2 of their last 3 games, respectively, and that's good. So they're going into Florida 3-1 in the SEC, and I just don't like the fact that Florida's giving that many points. I would take the points in this game if we were giving points. Since we are not, I will just take Florida straight up.
All right.
I like the over in this game. Excuse me.
All right, and then we'll head to the ACC. Virginia Tech and North Carolina State are playing in North Carolina State. North Carolina State, even though they're at the house, are a 2.5-point underdog. The over-under is at 135. Boston, Sam, lead us off.
Yeah, it should be a relatively good game for these two teams. Unfortunately for these two teams, like we were discussing earlier, SEC, ACC, the top half of these particular groups are much better than the lower halves, and these two teams are the lower halves of the ACC, respectively 13th and 14th in NC State and Virginia Tech. Not great offense on either of these teams, both of them ranking in between 200 and 300 in all of the Division I basketball. That's very, very poor, so I expect there to be a relatively low-scoring game tonight with the home team coming away with the victory, so NC State in the under for me.
Old school.
I agree with Tim completely, other than I'm going to go with Virginia Tech with the upset, but under.
So Vatek and the under. Let me get the home team here. I think North Carolina State is due for one. Both of these teams' records are very comparable. So I'll take North Carolina State, and I'll take the over, rooting for positivity. Old school, your dude, your dog, your mailman is coming back. Stetson Bennett is staying at Georgia. He's going to run it back next season after winning the national championship. He says 1 more year. Does that bode well for the Dogs, or would have you liked to see someone new come in and maybe a higher caliber star rating, which means absolutely nothing when it comes to playing on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited that the mailman will be back. It's good, it's always hard to live up to expectations. For him this year, the expectation level was pretty low, and he overachieved. Next year, the expectation level will be very high for him. There's a lot of guys that'll be that were on that team this year that won the national championship will be playing on Sunday, and I think it's going to be a tougher season for him. But good for him. If he wants to play for him, he earned it.
He absolutely did. It's time for us to take a short break. When we get back, we'll be on the line with Brad Law. Woo! Big game this weekend for the Auburn Tigers.
My weather forecast overnight, scattered clouds, 52 to 58 for the low, light south winds. Clouds and showers expected Thursday, a weather front coming in. That weather front's going to stall over the region. That'll give us more rain showers Thursday night into Friday. You'll be around 70 Thursday, but only about 55 on Friday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by All About Garage Doors, your garage door repair specialist. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Mike Greenberg. Greeny.
Rex in studio with the Straight Talk. Who does Joe Burrow remind you of?
He reminds me of Tom Brady, and I mentioned that earlier in the season. I mentioned it, his mannerism, but his leadership, and in the biggest moments, this guy is the calmest, and he's got just a hired killer mentality, and that's what he reminds me of Tom Brady. And look, 10 years from now, we're going to say this guy's the next Joe Burrow.
Weekday afternoons from 2 till 4, 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hi, folks. It's Tracy with Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Did you know that we have a master jeweler right here in the store? That's right. He has over 30 years experience in the art of repairing jewelry. Most repairs are done within 2 business days. So don't send your jewelry off for 6 weeks. Bring it to us at Tracy's Fine Jewelry. We size rings and solder chains. We can reset your diamond into new settings and even custom design. You'll get your jewelry back quickly and looking as good as new. Tracy's Fine Jewelry, Bay County's trusted jeweler for over 45 years.
At Slim Chickens, craft means something. Craft means bacon. And oh, so crispy. Craft means a good cayenne kick. And all-natural buttermilk marinated, made fresh, perfectly fried chicken. All served on toasted brioche buns. At Slim Chickens, craft means quality. And for a limited time, try our new Memphis-style barbecue chicken sandwich. Try Slim's craft sandwiches today. Slim Chickens. Small business owners of Bay County, are you aware of the recent changes in the credit card industry that could affect how much you pay for credit card processing? With over 30 years experience right here in Bay County, Merchant Management Group is ready to help your business take advantage of these changes and in some cases eliminate all fees for accepting credit card. Other businesses have already made the change. Call Merchant Management Group today to schedule a no obligation appointment. 850-747-0664.
Doing what other stations can't. The Afternoon Underdogs is live and local inside the Rib Crib Radio Room. 850-215-6290.
When you have completed dialing, listen for the ringing signal.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Rib Crib Radio Room. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes along with Boston Sim and Old School. We're going to be talking to Brad Law, the Director of Broadcast Operations for Auburn University. Brad, how are you on this War Eagle Wednesday?
Well, we're doing great, guys. How's everybody on the coast?
We are doing fantastic, getting ready for the game tonight between Georgia and Auburn, which you guys can listen to on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. With Auburn being up to number 2 in the AP poll, Brad, do you think that Auburn belongs at number 1?
Yes.
I wonder.
I was going to see how long you'd let me go, since typically the answers are normally longer than that. I do, because I think that the rankings should indicate who is the best team and has the best resume at this time, and I think that's Auburn. I mean, I think they've got the quad 1 and 2 wins. They have the wins away from home, the road wins, the neutral site wins, and I think their resume is the most impressive. So I think they should be there. Am I just overly torn up that this team has something that gives them a chip on their shoulder with 2 big home rivalry games this week? No, I'm not upset about that too much.
I wonder your thoughts, Brad, on the 2 voters, Newell and the other one, what was his name, from the Mercury Times. Anyway, giving him respectively 9th and 6th place votes, while everybody else, every other voter, all the other 58 guys voted him in the top 4. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think every voter has his or her own reasons for voting teams where they vote them, and I think there's consistency that comes with that, and I respect consistency. And I think that both of those individuals are consistent in how they vote, and that's fine. Again, on January 17th, which is when that poll was released, it just doesn't – again, you'd almost rather be 2 than 1, with a chip on your shoulder going into games against Georgia and Kentucky. As long as they're consistent, it's fine. And as long as they don't come with the argument that, the rankings really aren't a big deal. Because I think if you're a voter, then you should believe that the rankings are a big deal. You should believe in that enough to put effort and consistency into the rankings that you put out. And any voter for any sport who puts effort and consistency into his or her rankings is fine by me. At the end of the day, it'll all take care of itself. The committee, I don't think, looks all that much at the AP top 25 rankings in January when they seed the teams in March. So it's fine.
Hey, yeah, right. I love that answer, though, because maybe to fans of the game, these polls don't mean as much right now as they will as we get closer to March. But if you have the privilege to be making these votes, just like we all have the privilege living in the United States of America to make our vote, but if you are appointed to make a vote, that is such a huge responsibility. So you better treat it with a passion and treat it like it matters.
Yeah, where you start to get fans dander up, and it just happens to be Auburn in this case. It could be any team, any time they're in this situation, is when you're a voter and you come back and go, well, why does it matter? It's January. Well, don't see. Why does it matter? Well, it matters enough that you get a vote. Mm-hmm. And so if it doesn't matter, then turn your vote over to somebody else. It either matters or it doesn't matter. And now, let me say this. I'd rather be number 2 going into these games. I'll tell you what, after Auburn plays Georgia and Kentucky, I hope the Tigers are number 1, because the number 1 ranking while not, you don't win a championship, you don't hang a banner for it. But it's never happened at Auburn in men's basketball. So for that to happen for the first time, it is another benchmark in the program, and it is important. And anybody who tries to downplay the importance of a number one ranking at any point once games have been played in a season, again, in any sport, is being disingenuous. They're not telling you the truth. It does matter for things like that. It's a benchmark.
Right, and for any of the listeners that were wondering, is Jesse Newell and John Wilner the voters that I was referring to earlier, and I couldn't recall John's name. And from what I've read from the complaints from fans is, and maybe they're just not reading enough in depth into how the voting and all of that works. But what the issue is, the main issue I think is the receiving of 36 total first place votes as opposed to 25 for Gonzaga, yet still not getting
how
the
does
first
that even make sense?
place spot.
Well, again, because of the way that the votes are going, and those guys voted Auburn lower than 2, right? Most of the people who voted Auburn 1 put Gonzaga 2. You get 25 total points for a number 1 vote. You get 24 total points for a number 2 vote, and so on and so forth, all the way down to if somebody votes you 25th in their poll, you get 1 total point. So when Auburn's 9th or 5th or 6th or whatever, they're getting fewer points on that ballot than Gonzaga gets on a ballot where Auburn is 1 and Gonzaga is 2. And at the end of the day, the total points is in the single digits. So, if those guys had voted Auburn 2 instead of 5 or 6 or 9 or whatever the case may have been, then they would have been the number 1 team in the country. But again, I go back to those guys are consistent in how they rank teams, so that's fine. I respect the consistency, and if Auburn wins 2 games this week against Georgia and Kentucky, then they'll move up. They will be the number 1 team in the country. Gonzaga plays 1 game this week. Auburn plays 2. Auburn plays the number 12 team in the country Saturday on national TV. They'll be number 1 next week if they win both of those games.
I think that will help our listeners to understand more and to also realize your perspective definitely helps on why their consistency actually matters so much.
Brad, I just wanted to ask a real quick question, because earlier when we were getting ready for the season to start, you started talking about Kessler, and you pointed out, and we were asking, who is somebody that we need to be aware of? Whose eyes do we need to, make sure our eyes are on? And you pointed out Kessler, Walker Kessler, and he's had a big impact this season. Do you think it's greater than what you were expecting, or is he right where you thought he would be?
Greater, unquestionably greater than I expected. Now, I thought he was going to make a difference. I thought that Coach Pearl would use him differently than North Carolina used him, and would show off and utilize more of his abilities as a player. So you see a 7'1", you see, big, tall, 7'1" white guy, and you think, fairly limited athletically, but man, he's tall and he's a rim protector. Well, that's just, Walker's more than that. And first couple of weeks of the season, he kind of played that way. And then the coaches started challenging him to, listen, use your athleticism. He can run the floor. He has good ball handling skills, passing skills. Obviously, he rebounds and protects well, but, he's athletic getting up and down the floor. He's fluid with his movement to his right or his left, nimble. For a guy who's 7'1" to be called nimble, I think is that's pretty rare. And that's what Auburn has in Walker Kessler. So it's fun to watch him kind of blossom in this system. He was a guy that probably because of his size and his athletic ability was, NBA people were looking at him, but I think they've got to be salivating over what they've seen and the versatility in his game, both ends of the floor, offense and defense. Great recovery ability if he's beaten defensively. He can catch a pass at the elbow, take one step, and he's got those long arms, and he's at the rim, and to finish offensively. So, yeah, I think I thought Walker was going to be an important piece to this team. I thought he was going to have a big impact, but he's probably overshot that, in my opinion. I didn't see him having a triple-double. I certainly didn't see a whole ton of 20-point, 10-rebound, 7-block games like he had against Ole Miss last time out, and that's becoming the norm for Walker.
Well, the one thing that as I've been watching, is I've seen him continually pound and take the ball to the hole. And sometimes he gets his shot blocked, sometimes he doesn't, but he's not afraid to take the ball to the hole. And sometimes, for a person who's not as gifted athletically as we see a person being 7'1", we think, oh man, this guy is a walking stiff. But in this case, he still has the ability to take the ball to the hole and can finish.
Yeah.
I think he can get better through the remainder of the year on being able to finish.
Yeah, I agree, and especially when he starts further away from the basket. Typically, those big guys now, they've got to get the ball almost down on the low block, and maybe they can make a move and get a shot up before they're double teamed. What Walker's able to do, again, and it's his nimbleness, it's his mobility away from the basket. He can shoot the three, so you kind of have to guard him out long a little bit. But if you start to do that, his body control and control on the dribble is so good for a big man that, yeah, he can drive by you, and then he's at the hoop. I mean, like I said, one step, and his knuckles are over the rim, and he's finishing. Yeah. So he's just a real asset whenever he is defensively, unless he gets into foul trouble in games. He's just – that combination with Jabari, it may be the best front court. It is the best front court in the SEC. Mm-hmm. It may be the best front court in college basketball when he's not in foul trouble and he's allowed to do what he does in the game.
Yeah, and then I think just on the complete opposite spectrum, you have your one of your smaller guys in Wendell Green, who in all but 3 games this year has recorded at least 1 steal, and then in all but 3 times this entire season has he not had at least one of the 3 major stats in every single game. He's got either double digits in points with 5 rebounds and 4 assists or something similar to that nature every single game. And then, of course, we talk about his defense on the other side. Yet he's only a 5'10", 5'9" guy.
Well, and that's why we're talking about Auburn as a potential number 1 team, and where a lot of publications have them right now as the number 1 overall seed in their bracketology reports right now. Still a long way to go, understand that. But that's why they are there right now, because we talk about the front court, but then your back court is deep, and it's talented, and they are dogged defensively. Wendell Green, he's got that Jared Harper range. They call him Logo Win, because he is liable to shoot the ball from the logo and make it. He's fearless on both ends of the floor. And the point guard situation's in a really good spot. Wendell comes off the bench. Zep Jasper, the College of Charleston transfer, veteran, one of the best. At one point, he led the country in assist-to-turnover ratio. He just doesn't, and he may still, I'm not sure. He doesn't turn the ball over much at all. So he starts, and the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, you're going to get off to a fluid start offensively because the other team's not going to turn you over multiple times. So that first media timeout, 4 or 5 minutes into the game, now Wendell comes in and is able to do what he does on both ends of the floor as well. So you add K.D. Johnson, the Georgia transfer, who may break the single-season steals record before this year is out. He can score. He defends. They're just, again, it's depth and talent. Nobody on this team's playing more than 27 and a half minutes a game at this juncture of the season. So they're relatively fresh for all of these games in conference play. Again, deep, talented, and have put themselves in a really good spot.
Kentucky had a pretty big win against Tennessee over the weekend. They're starting to look like they might have things rolling. Who does Auburn need a big game from this weekend to continue that winning streak in the SEC, and how do they match up with Kentucky?
Well, the guy that concerns you the most for Kentucky, they have a terrific freshman guard in Ty Washington, and they just got Severe Wheeler, who played with KD at Georgia last year as a point guard. Severe's terrific. He's a wonderful player. He's been injured, and he scored, I think, 21 points against Tennessee. But the guy that concerns me the most for Kentucky is Oscar Sheblay. He's a transfer from West Virginia. He's the nation's leading rebounder, and he's the leading scorer on the team. He's averaging over 16 points a game. And, guys, his rebound numbers, forgive me, they're just stupid. I mean, he's pulling down 13, 14 rebounds a game. I think he's had a couple of 20 rebound games this year. He's the best rebounder we've seen in the league in probably a decade. And so Auburn has forged its way this year on the glass, has held up pretty well. But, Ken Walker, Ken Jabari, Dylan Cardwell, maybe a Jalen Simpson off the bench. Auburn's got to be able to rebound in the paint with Sheblay down there and not give Kentucky extra possessions and try to rip some offensive rebounds away from Sheblay so you can get a couple extra chances on the offensive end.
Yeah, I have Oscar at 14.9 rebounds per game right now, more than a full rebound over your next closest guy. It's just dominating. And, the next 3 or 4 guys on the list are all centers, and he's a forward.
Yeah, and it's every game. You don't come up with numbers like that because you have one ridiculous game. I'd like to know what his season low is. I wonder if he's had under 9 rebounds in any game this year, and I'll look up some of that as we get past the Georgia game. But he's just a menace. Again, best rebounder in the league we've seen, I think, in a decade or better.
He had 7 against Notre Dame and 8 against High Point.
Okay, so 7 is his low for the year.
Right.
That's amazing.
Crazy.
That's really crazy. Hey, Brad, thanks so much for taking some time to get us all caught up on Auburn and get us ready for the games tonight and for this week. And that's going to be a big one. You guys can listen to both of those games right here on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. The game tonight against Georgia starts at 7:30 for the pregame. And I don't know if Brad, are you on the pregame? I know that I've heard you doing the scores.
Yes, I get to host a little more than half of the pregame, and it's going to be great. I'm thankful that I get to do that because otherwise I don't know if I could get into the arena tonight. It's jam-packed to the rafters, as Gorilla Monsoon used to say. It's going to be wild.
I love it, man, Brad. Look forward to listening to you this evening on the pregame.
All right, thank you, guys, and thank you for bringing the Tigers to the coast.
Absolutely. We appreciate you guys letting us bring the Tigers to the coast. Yeah, I know I've heard Brad a couple of times, but most of the time during the pregame, I'm kind of getting things on the radio side ready, so I don't get to listen to it as much as I would like to. But I know that the Auburn broadcast, they do a fantastic job on the Auburn broadcast, on the Auburn Sports Network. And one of my favorite things about, we got national commentators and all that stuff, and what is their job, right? Or if you're a national guy, or if you're broadcasting or commentating an NFL game, you can't pick a side, right?
Yeah, you can't be biased.
When you're a hometown radio guy, or when you're doing it for the Auburn Sports Network, you pick a side. So even as an Alabama fan, I like listening to the Auburn guys and just pulling for your team. I don't know why they don't let, they should just split it up on the broadcast and have one guy, you'll have your play-by-play guy, and then your color analyst, you'll have one from each team, and they could just start. It's almost like the Major League Baseball playoffs when Ron Darling was calling the Braves and the Dodgers game, ain't it right?
Absolutely.
I know it.
Without a doubt.
Come on. All right, we're going to come on and take a break. We're going to pay the bills over here. When we get back, Boston Tim's going to take us through college basketball and the NBA, get us caught up from last night and the big games going on tonight.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show, weekday mornings 7 till 9 on your station for the best local sports talk.
The legend, Andy Burcham.
Auburn would like to have a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament coming. Auburn would like to win an SEC regular season championship. First time since the Christmas break that the students have been back, and then Kentucky on Saturday. And you talk about some energy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Barbaritos has been committed to serving farm fresh food since February 20th, 2000. For starters, Barbaritos food is made with love, straight from the heart. Every morning we begin preparing our food from scratch, from chopping fresh tomatoes for sauces to mashing fresh avocados for guacamole. Barbaritos cares about food, from serving char-grilled grass-fed beef as well as hormone-free chicken breasts to the amazing tofu for our vegan friends. Farm fresh is more than just a motto, it's Barbaritos' mission.
Barbaritos, we make it fresh, you make it yours.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likas with today's Car Clinic Minute. The wise men had the North Star, Dorothy the yellow brick road. But like Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have an automotive force that helps you find your way. When I return, I'll enlighten you.
The Car Clinic Minute.
It's Bobby Likas Car Clinic, brought to you locally by Hewitt Tire and Auto.
Call 850-769-7323.
Your certified AAA service center and hometown towing.
Visit them online at HewittTire.com.
On Airport Road in Panama City.
That's 850-769-7323. Hewitt Tire and Auto Center and hometown towing.
Though the sun does a great job all day, during its nighttime sabbatical, your vehicle's headlights illuminate your way. And this force has gone high-tech. Bosch's adaptive lighting directional headlamp system monitors vehicle speed, steering angle, and acceleration to anticipate the road ahead. It then continually adjusts headlamp patterns accordingly, switching combinations of 7 different lighting elements inside the lamp so you can see more clearly and drive more safely. Hey, who says there's nothing new under the sun? I'm Bobby Likas. Like us, you'll love us.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs, broadcasting from the Rib Crib Radio Room.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Engage. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome in. It's the Afternoon Underdogs on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Old School's over here rocking, right, man. There, I need to draw it out just a little, not draw it out a little bit longer. That. I need to make it a little shorter and then fade it, give it a little fade to it rather than it just cutting off like that. I'll fix it up, though. We need to play that a little bit more, right? That
gets my heart started.
It gets you ready. And we've only got 20 minutes left here on the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Boston Tim and Old School. Boston Tim, take us through the night last night in college basketball, NBA. Whatever was big to you was big to us.
Right. Well, we only had 2 games in the NBA, and we saw the Golden State Warriors playing Detroit. Obviously, I think we all knew that wouldn't be a very great matchup. The Detroit Pistons only have 10 wins this entire season right now with 33 losses, and it's almost a complete opposite.
They need some Simmons, some Ben Simmons.
They do. Speaking of Ben Simmons, while we're talking about him, he did state today that if before the deadline is up, that he isn't either traded, or if he isn't traded, that he will definitively not be playing for the rest of the season no matter what. So he's still sticking with his guns that no matter what, he will not be playing for the 76ers.
I mean, do they even care?
I mean, they have to pay him. So
yeah. I guess. See, that's where it's kind of messed up to me. Like, I'm not gonna play, but I expect you to pay me. Like, and there's no health thing going on. You know what I mean? But I don't know. That's such a weird situation because it's not a team player. So even if you were to get him on the floor, he wouldn't be trying to do what's best for the team. That's just a messy situation. Wouldn't you think that they would try their everything to move on from him? Especially with the year that Joel's having this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, at the very least, even if you had to take a substantial loss, if you got something for him, at least that's a little bit more money you could put towards advancing towards a championship, which was obviously their only goal at this point.
Mm.
So, outside of that, you go back over to the Pistons and Warriors game. It was a blowout. Klay Thompson had a pretty good game coming out, 21 points. It was a surprise to see Kuminga come in, played a bit, and had a double-double.
I wanted to get your take on, has Klay surprised you at how well he's moving and how really hasn't played with a lot of fear? I mean, he seems like he's pretty loose.
No, it didn't surprise me because we saw that he had this injury, right?
Right.
And he already had it once. And he thought that he was ready to come back, and they weren't 100% sure. We let him get ready to come back, and forcing himself to go to 5-on-5s a little bit earlier than he probably should have, re-ruptured the Achilles and caused that same injury again. And so this time, they were very precautious. He could have come back 6 weeks ago.
Right.
But they were going to make sure that this time that he was 100% healed and that he could start off at 50% in practices and work his way up to 100% 5-on-5s 5 days a week. And when he got to that point, in which was I think it was 6 full weeks after he was actually approved, then they were finally allowing him on.
It just seemed to me, I've only seen him play a couple of times, but it's just like he has no fear. He's not even considering an injury at this point. He's just playing.
Which is great, because
Which is
you
what
can't
you
play
want.
at that level,
Right.
the level that the Golden State Warriors play out on a daily basis, and have any fear at all.
And when you hear other athletes that have had a major injury like that, they get into, thinking about their injury. And when they know they're 100% back is when they no longer even thinking about it. They're just reacting and playing.
Absolutely. There's been many of great athletes who've lost their careers due to it.
Mhm.
I think just recently Chandler Parsons retired due to an injury that they couldn't rehab. It wasn't a basketball injury. I believe it was from a car accident. But, regardless, he still had to retire early. So it just is what it is. Sometimes if you don't have the ability to come back mentally or physically, you have to have both when you're at the professional level.
What do you think about Clay becoming more of a facilitator, more of a not just facilitator, but attacking the rim? Since now they don't have Kevin Durant, and he's got to kind of be one of those guys. What do you think of that, especially with his longevity in mind?
Well, I don't think that he necessarily has to attack the rim a lot. You've got probably the best defensive player in all of basketball on your team with you, in Draymond Green.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
Yeah, no doubt.
he is not quite a triple-double machine, but you can almost always rely on him to get 9 to 10 rebounds a game. And, that having somebody like that in the center of the court for you at all times is huge. And so I don't think that he necessarily has to go in there and really crash the boards like he did before KD came in. So I don't think that'll be the way that he'll be used. He'll be running around a lot, opening himself up for shots, and running off a ton of screens. I don't necessarily think that he'll be chasing down rebounds. We move on to the other NBA game, though. Last night was a pretty decent game. Ended up Karl Anthony Towns finished off the game last night with a big 3-point play and beat the Knicks by 2 points. There was no score there in the last 30 seconds of the game after his go-ahead layup, but it was a decent game.
That's a long time at the end of the game for no field goals, isn't it?
Very surprising, actually.
Right?
Well, we'll talk about the Iowa State game. They went 7 minutes and 58 seconds without scoring the last 8 minutes of the first half. So, yeah, that's a long time. That's almost an entire quarter, I think. So, yeah, that game was a relatively good game. The Minnesota broke out pretty early, and they had a 10-point lead at the half, but then subsequently gave up that entire lead in the third quarter, as well as going down 5 points. So they came back, played some great defense in the fourth quarter, holding the Knicks to under 20 points, and then ended up, like I said, Karl Anthony Towns had the big finish last night in that 3-point play, and then, of course, ended off really strong with Anthony Edwards as well. He had a 21-point game. Julius Randle had a 21-point game, but it just wasn't enough for them to get over the hump in Minnesota. You move over to college basketball last night. We had some really good games.
Yeah.
One of the games that we didn't necessarily talk about, but was actually a really good game, and I didn't plan on watching it, but it ended up switching over from Iowa State to this particular game, was Kansas at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That was a really good game. Ended up being within, I believe I read it was within 7 points the entire game, and finished up there with a 3-point victory, Kansas knocking down a big three-pointer with 10.9 seconds left in the game. So that was pretty awesome. A 67-64 victory over Oklahoma. So that was pretty exciting to watch.
You think Kansas is becoming Kansas again? Like they had that little hiatus, little COVID pause for them, and then kind of came back a little slow. I think they lost to Iowa State, but since then they've kind of maintained it. So it's almost Kentucky-like, right? Like we were like, Kentucky, the cohesiveness is not there, and then they land in, they take on Tennessee and drop 107 points on them.
Yeah, I mean, they're a solid team, right? We see them progressively doing better. They've only lost 2 games this season, 15 wins. Unfortunately, I think 6 of those wins have come from behind wins. So while they are doing well, I wouldn't say necessarily that they're the Kansas of the old. We know that historically they have been one of the greatest franchises in college basketball, but they're definitely looking good this season, and that's always good to have. When you have that team of Kentucky and North Carolina and Duke, when those teams are doing well, all of basketball does well. So it's good to see them moving up in the rankings. I see them at 7 this particular week, and with a big win over Oklahoma and progressively doing well for the rest of the week, could probably put them in the top 5 next week. So we'll just see how it happens. The other game that we did talk about last night was number 6 Duke going into FSU, where a couple of us over here picked Duke, but the old man, I believe, was the only one that picked FSU. Did you pick FSU?
No, I went with Duke, man.
Right.
I was trying to get the for sure win, and then I get the update that, where do I live? Florida State gets the W, and it was in overtime, right?
It was an overtime.
How about that?
Not only that, but Florida State was up double digits with less than 3 minutes left in the game, and we saw Duke fight back, including a couple of big offensive rebounds by Paolo, as well as a big block by him that made an 11-2 run right there at the end to get them to tie up the game. They took a 1-point lead and then a 2-point lead, and then subsequently Florida State tied it up there at the end to bring it into overtime, where it was a relatively close game the entire time, and just Florida State just happened to score one more point right there at the end on a three-pointer to take over the lead, and that was the game for them, you know.
How awesome is that for Coach Ham to take down? And you know, Coach K was there at the game after he missed the Wake Forest game. But for Coach Ham and just kind of the year that they've started out with, not so impressive, and then to be able to turn it around here with that win against Duke, and that's his 55, his 55th win against AP top 25 teams, win unranked, the most by any coach ever during the AP poll era. So that's, hey, way to go, Coach Ham.
Right. And I'm sorry, the three-pointer was at the end of regulation, and the free throws were at the end of overtime. Right. Sorry about that, because they finished with 2 consecutive intentional fouls, making 3 of the 4.
Okay, so gotcha.
Had that backwards.
Let's get into that Cavs-Bulls game tonight. We only got a couple more minutes before we got to get out of this segment. That was one of the ones you wanted to kind of break down for us. So let's talk about that one.
Absolutely, and of course I wanted to mention still the Suns, the only team with single-digit losses still in the NFL or in the NBA. 43 games in, they are 34-9, so looking unbelievable this year, including Booker having a huge game last night. So, yeah, we'll jump over to that Bulls and Cavs game. I think it's probably going to be the matchup of the day. The number 1 and number 4 teams in the East are only separated by a game and a half. Really, the top 5 teams are only separated by 2 games. So, really, in a 2-game swing, the Bucks could go from 5th place to 1st place, and the Bulls could drop down from 1st place to 5th place.
Golly.
That's how close the East is right now at the top. And you see the Cavs are on a 5-game win streak. The Bulls on a 4-game losing streak. So while they had opened up a big lead just 2 weeks ago, they have now dropped it down, like I said, so close that it's a 2-game differential between 1st and 5th place, and really by the end of the weekend, the entire East could be completely different.
Who is it that's rowing the boat for the Cavaliers right now? Like, who's facilitating this season that they're having, or is it just not a one-man show or a 2-man show? Is it just a cohesive team put together? Like, what's going on in Cleveland for them to be having this success?
Well, they're young and they're strong. That's for one thing. They're moving unbelievably fast up and down the court. Their pace is great. It's a la an old Golden State, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing, 9 guys playing over 25 minutes on that team.
Wow. So
they're very deep. You see Colin Sexton was great. Pick up 2018 he was drafted.
But he's hurt, ain't he?
Darius Garland. He's you're right. He is still hurt.
Yeah, that's my boy, man. That's my boy right there.
Yeah, because he's only played 11 games this year. Excuse me. But last year's draft pick, who is obviously the huge favorite for Rookie of the Year, and Evan Mobley is a huge pickup for them. Darius Garland, we've talked about. Jarrett Allen is a great center for them, very young and very explosive. But like I said, all around they're playing deep. They've got 11 guys that have played 30 of the 39 games this season. So very deep, very, very positive. Kevin Love's been playing well. Lauri Markkanen, not too bad. So
I forgot he even still played basketball when you just said Kevin Love. And that's good stuff, though. That's great for Cleveland. That is great for Cleveland. It's great for Chicago. Big game tonight in the NBA. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got less than 7 minutes. When we get back, it'll be like 5. So stick with us, and we'll make it quick.
My weather forecast overnight, scattered clouds, 52 to 58 for the low, light south winds. Clouds and showers expected Thursday, a weather front coming in. That weather front's going to stall over the region. That'll give us more rain showers Thursday night into Friday. It'll be around 70 Thursday, but only about 55 on Friday. We'll keep you updated. This weather forecast has been brought to you by Mid-South Lumber, best little lumber yard in Panama City and Youngstown. For 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida, I'm meteorologist Tim Root.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Colin Cowherd.
Dak, we got a trend here about 3 years, has been pretty ordinary against teams not named the Giants, the Washington football team, or the Eagles. And so it doesn't mean he can't play. That's not. But he's been surrounded here in the first 4 or 5 years with really good stuff. Now, the good news is the Cowboys draft pretty well. Can they find a Micah Parsons on offense?
This is The Herd.
Weekdays 11 to 2, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Are you thinking about buying or selling real estate in the Panama City area? Think Real Estate is your team of local experts who simply love living and working in Bay County and helping others make their dreams come true through the exchange of homes and properties. We strive to provide excellent customer service in residential, commercial, and investment sales, as well as property management by combining classic customer service with crazy fresh marketing. Visit our website, whenyouthink.com.
Let All About Garage Doors service your garage door today. All About Garage Doors has 24/7 service at no extra charge. Right now at All About Garage Doors, they will service your garage door starting at $99. And that comes with a free set of rollers. Yes, you heard right. They'll service your garage door starting at $99 plus a free set of rollers. Call All About Garage Doors now. 850-842-9188. Veteran owned and operated.
Golf Plus is your premier golf shop on the Gulf Coast. Not a big box or a chain store, but a local store with golf experts to serve you. An amazing array of demo and fitting products, plus a professional repair shop that can handle anything from a basic re-grip to a full set of re-shafts and everything in between. Golf Plus has locations in Dothan and Panama City Beach to serve you. Come see them today for all your golf needs. Located next to Firefly at the shops at Edgewater. Call 850-249-2726.
Live from the Rib Crib Studio. The mission.
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
The state will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
You are listening to 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs right here in the Rib Crib radio room. Let's get to some local sports scores from last night in high school soccer. On the boys' side of things, Walton and East Hill Christian plays to a 4-1 win for Walton. Arnold shuts out South Walton 2-0. Port St. Joe over Rutherford 4-3. Gulf Breeze and Niceville in a tight one as well. 2-1 the score there in favor of Gulf Breeze. Old School, you want to take the high school soccer girls scores?
Absolutely. We've got Bozeman and Bay hooking up, and Bozeman comes away with a 1-point victory, 3-2. Choctaw and Niceville also a 1-point victory there for Niceville, 2-1.
Boston Tim, you want to take the high school basketball boys scores, and then Old School, you take the girls scores.
Sure. Fantastic. Scores. We had Malone hosting Poplar Springs last night with a 75-61 victory. We saw PCA go into Rocky Bayou and get a 69-65 victory. Alpha hosted Cottondale, 59-42 victory. Weewa Hitchcock went into Sneeds and got obliterated, 60-21. We see Talavan Christian, 17, Bluntstown, 58. Another shellacking, a very close one, however, in South Walton, as they hosted mostly 56-54. We had Arnold with a 79-point victory over Destin, who put up 50. Central put up 57, defeating Laurel Hill with 46 points. And Northside Methodist only scored 22 against Bozeman 68. And then we saw Bethlehem host Liberty with a 67-54 victory.
Old School, get the girls' scores.
The girls, we've got Paxton taking down Mariana 51-17. Bozeman also scores 51 in a victory, 51-44 over Vernon. Rocky Bayou 56, Laurel Hill 23.
And you got Mosley taking down North Bay Haven on the other page, Old School, 50-29. Graceful takes down Sheblay, 32-15. Walton and Bethlehem in a good one. Walton gets the best of Bethlehem, 35-29. Florida State University High School takes down Holmes, 70-36. And South Walton over Freeport, 60-42. Any closing arguments for today?
I mean, Bluntstown boys playing some defense against Talavan Christian, holding them to 17 points is a pretty amazing defensive show. And then to see something very similar in Graceville holding Sheblay to 15. Great job on the defense in the Bay Area.
Yeah, man, the defense is looking fantastic. What are we thinking about the MVP race? How much ground is Kevin Durant going to lose with 4 to 6 weeks that he'll be out with the MCL sprain? We got about 30 seconds here, Boston Sam.
I think he'll lose a little bit of ground, but it's easy. It's easy for him to make up. Absolutely, the average is the average, whether or not he's out for 4 weeks, and that's what they're going to be looking at when it comes down to the end of the season. I think that somebody that can make a big jump right now, and if they figure out what's been going on over the course of the last week, and DeMar DeRozan, he's been an exceptional player for his team, and if they actually vote for the most valuable player for their team, he is that right now.
Good stuff. All right, well, we're the Afternoon Underdogs. We are out for the day. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon. Coach James Hill will be live with you at 7 a.m. in the morning. Don't forget about the Grand Slam of Cash. You got to listen 8:45 in the morning, 4:45 in the afternoon. Take the code word that you hear. Head on over to the ESPN Northwest Florida app. Enter it there for your chance to win $1,000.
ESPN Northwest Florida. War Eagle.
Auburn basketball returns to the Auburn Sports